Never in My Arms, Always in My Heart. That's like a song about a miscarriage. I saw a lady on a plane. They were having a conversation. I was eavesdropping a little bit, and she was talking about "Never in My Arms, Always in My Heart" was a tattoo that she had, and I thought it must be a song. It was a simple thing, and it was a little bit corny, but it was something really sweet too because it was personal. It was really sentimental, but at the same time, it was like the thing that you would get tattooed. So anyway, I thought it was cool because it was universal, innocent, a little bit corny, and really, but at the same time, like really, like heart-wrenching too. So I wanted to make it into a song, and it goes into the story. I mean, that's what it starts with. Shane does say on a tired summer day. That's like the kid, the ape, the animal wants to go to school because he sees what's on TV or whatever, and it sort of moves the story along, but at the same time it's about I don't know. It's like it's dialogue. It's like supposed to be musical like and it's more of a story thing. Rock Dreams. This is a song that my mother sings. It's from the perspective of the mom in the story. She's like a failed rock musician. Like my mother took a crack at being an entertainer. So it was really good because it was partly genuine, but it was a lot more bitter. The song is like very bitter, and she's like amazing on it. And Todd Rundgren features on it and does like, he's the father. So they talk to each other, and that's very musical-like song too. It's a musical, so it's a song from a musical. In the coming years, we all will disappear into... The Lesson. This is my first track on the record. It's sort of, I guess, the first look at Shane, the main character's perspective and sort of his way of viewing life, which is sort of the antithesis of what his students view life, which is in a very cynical way, and sort of fake it till you make it kind of thing. Do whatever to get to the top, I guess. And he sort of says, sort of like the choruses, in the coming years we all will disappear into the clouds that the rain falls from, and if you make believe our bodies create the seas, we'll feel less worrisome. And that's sort of like looking at life in a more abstract way or something like that, and in a way that's beautiful. So that's sort of that song, maybe a little bit. Small Victories. That's sort of him, Shane, and his classmates sort of clashing. And he sort of sees all the sort of bullying and kind of hatred that goes on in the school. And he goes, just how much of this will you all allow to go on? And the chorus is sort of his positive outlook, once again, in the face of all this negativity surrounding him. Musically, I was kind of like, it started out as sort of like a Gilbert O'Sullivan kind of thing with like a lot of fast words and stuff like that. And I kind of got really into like Serge Gainsbourg after that. So then I kind of like sprinkled this, arpeggiated acoustic guitar and funky stuff under it. So it's kind of like a very sort of square thing meeting a sort of cool thing, and I kind of liked the way it turned out. You cannot see me, I will not. Wondering Ways. I think it was originally written as like just sort of like a crush that I had or something like that, and it was very applicable to the story relating to Shane and Daisy, and Daisy's like the most popular girl in the school, and Shane kind of feels like it's something that's never going to happen or something like that. But just because it's never going to happen doesn't mean he's going to stop thinking about it. So that's sort of the crux of that song.
When you were born, she couldn't bear to raise a boy like you.
The Bully. This is sort of like it's like a bossa nova song, and it's kind of happy sounding, but it's one of the more like sinister lyrics on the record. It's the story of Robert Jr., a bully that sort of takes his anger from being bullied by his father, Robert Sr., out on Shane. And it's sort of a self-explanatory lyric.
And I feel like going out at night.
This song, I think I wrote it, I was like 15 when I wrote it. It was like a personal, raw, like, song about being lonely at school. People like going home with, remembering like people talking about hanging out and in front of me and then going and doing it. And it was like a little bit corny, but I thought that it was really good because it was like genuinely written from that perspective, and it wasn't like anybody trying to like write from the perspective of like a teenager or a kid or something. It was actually written, so I thought it would be cool. Even though we were redoing it, I thought it would be like, I just thought it'd be cool because it was so genuine.
The queen of my school. Oh, yeah.
This is a song that's been around for a while, Queen of My School. We've been playing it as the closer at our shows for a long time. I mean, now we're not going to do it anymore, but we used to. It's a rock and roller. Some of you might be able to hear the Big Star influence on it. It's like the romance in the story. That's what the song is.
You'll never, 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 ever know.
Never Know. This is the Todd Rundgren feature on the record. Some of the coolest experiences of my life recording with him. And he sort of came in and he just did it. We sent him a demo of the song and he just did his best to get what we were after. And he played the role of Shane's father, Bill, very effectively. And this is the part of the story where the parents see that Shane's experiences at school are having a negative impact on him, and they think if they tell him the fact that he is a ape, that it'll bring some clarity and into his mindset. But it has the opposite effect on him. It makes him feel more isolated, and so this is the story where he's told of his origin.
When I close my eyes, I feel it.
This is like one of my favorites on the record because we just sort of dropped the idea of a rock backing entirely. So it's a full-on song that's in the Broadway style, fully orchestrated, and this was like a big challenge getting the arrangement together because I never went to school for it or anything, so I had to kind of learn how to do it all by myself, and it was really special to me because it's the first song that like I've written and Michael has sung, and he just did it better than I could ever hope to sing this song. And he just expressed all the emotions of the sort of anger and bitterness and betrayal that Shane feels at this point in the story, like any great actor would. And I'm very happy with how this one turned out.
Daisy was his last hope. but she thought Shane.
The fire is like about the fire that happens in the school. It's sort of like an attack. I don't think that the kid knows that it's gonna kill as many people. He kind of wants to make a statement, but then it like happens in the story. It's sort of like one of the emotional turning points in the story. So this is like the what happens after he turns, what he decides to do.
Loneliness, I often shiver to the bone.
Home of a Heart, The Woods, is one of the first songs that we wrote for the record. And I was just writing a lot of songs about sort of being sort of isolated and wanting to connect with other people, but sort of knowing that there's sort of an innocence and purity that comes with not being influenced by a certain way of thinking or something like that. Maybe like, you know, like any child, I believe, is sort of like naive to a certain degree. And, you know, you have certain experiences with people that sort of maybe lead you to believe that people aren't ultimately good. But I think that you can retain a certain feeling of people being good if you realize like what happens to people and sort of understand what they've been through or something like that. And that's sort of like partially what that song's about. But he's sort of in the woods and he thinks, Shane, the character, he thinks, hey, maybe I can retain my inner purity or something, or get it back after the fire, because he's sort of forced into exile then, and he thinks, hey, maybe I can still feel love even in isolation. That's sort of like a real drawn out way of explaining it, but
Stay far away from me. You can do what you want.
This Is My Tree is like a fun rock and roller. It's supposed to be like early rock and roll with the slap back and everything, saxophone. But that's like kind of an island song vibe. I don't know.
Wake up shaking from money you're making, just wonder.
this is sort of the moral of the record, because Shane, the character, the lead character, the reason he gets into this mess is because he sort of feels like he has a certain amount of love that's inside of him that he wants to see it returned to him. So he looks for it in other people, and I feel like maybe other people just are sort of a vehicle that allows you to realize the love that's within you. And when he tries to relate to other people, they kind of shut him down and make him feel like maybe he doesn't have that love inside of him. But this is sort of the song that sort of says, like, it doesn't really matter what you receive back from people. It's what you're giving them and what you're giving the world or whatever. So that's what that one's about.
Go to School. Title track, bonus track. It's got themes from other parts of the record. You know, it's like layered vocals that are all just on other parts of the record together. It's just a cool, like, I did it like 5 days before we were supposed to master, or 2 days before we were supposed to master or something. It was like a really quick thing. My dad sings the low vocal. It's cool.